southeastern flank of Mount Hood, Mount Hood Meadows is the largest ski area in the Mount Hood region by a sizable margin. Just over an hour away from Portland, the mountain offers a diverse range of terrain, high-speed lifts, and a beautiful footprint. But if you're not from the Pacific Northwest, is Mount Hood Meadows a good choice for a true destination ski trip? Well, let's take a look. In this video, we'll go through Mount Hood Meadows' overall mountain experience, and then we'll go through how the resort stacks up in our overall rankings. Before we jump in, you can check out written reviews of Mount Hood Meadows and over 50 other destination ski resorts on our website, peakrankings.com. Be sure to like and subscribe to help us grow, and be sure to hit the bell so you don't miss any of our video content. And you can help support us by checking out the Peak Rankings store, which is linked in the description below. Spanning over 2,000 acres, Mount Hood Meadows comprises the largest footprint of any Mount Hood resort and arguably offers the best inbounds terrain in the region. Across its lengthy vertical drop, the mountain features tree-defined trails, skiable woods, and high alpine bowls of varying difficulties. While it doesn't operate into the summer like neighboring Timberline, the resort enjoys a lengthy season that extends through May. Mount Hood is a massive volcano, and its unique climate system produces storms that furnish Meadows with strong accumulation each season. The resort gets impressive snow totals throughout the winter, often in massive dumps. However, storms are often wet and heavy. Depending on the storm, the snow might feel more arduous than fun. Conditions can get really choppy really quickly, and really difficult to maintain composure through. Be careful if you're off-piste and it's just snowed a lot. It's easy to get stuck. Conditions at Meadows can become rough after a few days without snow. The fickle weather patterns produce terrain that's often windswept and icy. On a good day, Meadows offers quite the experience for beginner and intermediate skiers thanks to its high alpine, vista, and cascade areas. The cascade area mainly comprises above and near treeline intermediate terrain, and the vista area boasts high alpine beginner runs, which you can't find anywhere else in the Mount Hood area. Runs this striking are a rare treat for less advanced visitors in the alpine sports world. However, due to their exposure, these areas are highly susceptible to inclement weather closures. In peak winter months, these lifts can remain closed for days or weeks on end due to wind, low visibility, or ice. It usually takes a perfect bluebird day for the resort to finally open these areas. These closures are on par with some competing Oregon ski resorts, but it's rare to find variability like this anywhere else in the country. If you want to check out these areas, your best bet is to visit during the spring, when you're much more likely to arrive on a day when these lifts are operating. When Vista and Cascade are closed, Meadows offers other terrain options for beginners and intermediates, although they're rather ordinary. The Daisy and Buttercup lifts provide access to dedicated learning terrain, while the Mount Hood, Stadium, and Hood River Express lifts each service one beginner run. Intermediate guests will appreciate the Shooting Star area, which offers solid vistas and ample cruisers, as well as the Hood River area, which contains several longer blue runs. The Mount Hood and Stadium lifts also service some solid blues. Unfortunately, grooming operations on some of these trails can be quite lacking. Unlike some other Hood area resorts, Meadows boasts plenty of difficult terrain. The Mount Hood Express services a series of steep, ungroomed black runs. While not marked on the trail map, considerable cliff drops exist off some of these trails. Some woods areas can cliff out for those who aren't paying attention. When you're on these runs, make sure to be careful. A few miscellaneous black runs exist across other mountain areas as well. However, none of these single black trails are particularly lengthy. If you're looking for lappable endurance runs, you might want to go somewhere else. The resort's double black diamond rating should be heeded with extreme caution. All expert terrain access comes through gates. The high alpine Heather Canyon features a consistently steep pitch across a wide open, mogul-riddled footprint and is particularly avalanche prone. The Lower Mountain Private Reserve Zone features some of the most technical terrain anywhere on the West Coast. Many serious obstacles are fair game, including perilous cliff drops. And while these expert areas see somewhat variable openings throughout the season, they're open much more consistently than the Vista and Cascade lifts, with the caveat that the top half of Heather Canyon is only accessible when the Cascade lift is running. On only the clearest, least windy of late season days, Meadows also offers hike-to access to some of Mount Hood's undisturbed, above treeline footprint. The resort's highest inbounds area, Super Bowl, isn't quite as tough as Private Reserve, but it offers access to an astounding 4,500-foot vertical drop, which is on par with the longest in the country across a lengthy expert footprint. This run is severely prone to avalanches. In most situations, patrol will be monitoring the gate and requiring guests to carry an avalanche beacon and shovel to this trail. While the hike is absolutely beautiful, it does require a grueling 1,700-foot vertical ascent, meaning the overwhelming majority of guests probably won't find it practical to do. Like many other Oregon resorts, Mount Hood Meadows offers a competitive terrain park setup. Features include boxes, rails, and jumps, as well as a super pipe, and range from small to extra large in size. Features have improved considerably in recent seasons, with the resort adding more varied terrain and significantly more intermediate freestyle zones. Terrain park areas are chiefly serviced by the Vista chair, but when that lift is closed, the Daisy and Easy Rider chairs provide similar access. Mount Hood Meadows stands out with a modern lift fleet. With the exception of the Heather Canyon return lift, detachable, high-speed quads service every major area. But it's a good thing that the lifts at Meadows move quickly, as if you're there on a busy day, you'll find yourself waiting on lengthy lines. The Mount Hood Express, which is the main out-of-base lift, generally sees the longest waits, although the neighboring Blue Chair provides some relief when it runs. Vista and Cascade generate considerable queues when open, and when these lifts are closed, it just makes the lines everywhere else worse. To avoid crowds during peak times, the Shooting Star and expert-only Heather Canyon areas are typically the best options. Mount Hood often experiences stormy, uncomfortable conditions throughout the season, but for those looking to stop for a break, Meadows boasts a massive base area complex with multiple dining options. That being said, while facilities exist outside the main base, they are somewhat lacking. The Hood River base is home to a small lodge with food options and limited seating, while a mid-mountain eatery just off the Mount Hood Express lift boasts cordial vibes, but only offers outdoor seating. In most cases, it's straightforward to get around Mount Hood Meadows thanks to sufficient signage, clear trail maps, and a general lack of flat terrain. The mountain's tall but narrow footprint generally allows visitors to easily travel from one area to another. However, Meadows suffers from one truly arduous experience, and that's the Private Reserve runout, which is already pretty flat in sections and ends at the Hood River parking lot about a 5 to 10 minute catwalk from the lift. There's no signage on the mountain warning of this mandatory hike out, which means unprepared guests are sure to be left with a sour taste in their mouth. Unfortunately, this hike out is required for all of Meadows' most extreme Private Reserve terrain, making these formidable lines impractical to lap. On a nice day, Mount Hood Meadows visitors will enjoy the absolutely striking aesthetic afforded by Mount Hood and some surrounding volcanoes in the distance. But if you book a trip during the peak winter months, breaks in the clouds are rare. Constant storm cycles bring about cloudy, low visibility conditions that mask the mountain's beauty. On overcast days, it's generally still possible to see into the less weather-prone valleys. These flat areas don't provide quite as interesting views, but looking down at them still produces somewhat of an on-top-of-the-world feeling. During the core winter season, Meadows offers night skiing on a limited amount of terrain Wednesday through Sunday until 9 p.m. While only the Mount Hood Express, Stadium, and Bunny Hill lifts spin throughout the evening, a range of terrain options remain open for varying ability levels. For those living in the area, this may make Meadows a really enticing option for after-work laps. However, a lot of the locals are already in on the secret, and the evening hours are often home to some of the worst lines. Mount Hood Meadows is a ski area rather than a built-up resort, and it lacks on-site accommodations entirely. A few hotels, inns, and luxury condos can be found just a short drive away in Government Camp, although they're a bit pricey for the quality. However, many of these accommodations provide free shuttle service to the mountain. A bus from the town of Hood River runs to the mountain on a daily basis. This route used to be free, but now it's $5 for a round trip. A park and ride bus provides access from several Portland area lots on weekends and holidays, but it isn't cheap, costing $35 round trip. Due to some extremely variable terrain openings and a lack of on-site lodging, Mount Hood Meadows won't be the best ski area to fly out to. However, the resort is quite reasonably priced, with full day tickets either near or just above $100, and 4-hour afternoon tickets available for about $70. At these rates, the resort is still a good deal on days when the upper mountain is closed, and an absolute steal for the diversity and level of terrain available on a good day. On top of that, many expert areas remain open when high alpine lift service is suspended. For many in the Portland area, Meadows will offer the best overall mountain experience within close proximity. Now let's go through how Mount Hood Meadows stacks up in our overall resort rankings, which are determined by the following 10 category mountain score. Please note that the following rankings are set based on category recalibrations for the 2022-23 season that will be released in full in the coming weeks. Mount Hood Meadows sees solid snow totals each season, but like other Pacific Northwest mountains, accumulation is typically wet and heavy with a chance of rain, and the resort gets a 7 for snow. Resiliency is a low point. Several key areas are constantly closed throughout the core winter, and while openings get more reliable by spring, grooming could use some work. The resort only gets a 3 in this category. Meadows has 2,150 skiable acres and spans over 2,500 acres from boundary to boundary and gets a 7 for size. Meadows offers a taste of every category of terrain for all abilities, but most runs aren't exactly the longest despite the long vertical drop on paper, and the resort gets a 7 for terrain diversity. Meadows boasts some notable steeps and cliffs. These include some truly extreme terrain at Private Reserve, although this area is hard to lap, and the resort gets an 8 for challenge. Meadows provides high-speed lift service in most areas, although 13% of the resort requires hiking to either reach or get out of, and the resort gets a 7 for lifts. Meadows has no lines if you go on a weekday morning or afternoon, but key lifts get severely backed up during peak times, especially when high alpine areas are closed, and the resort gets a 4 for crowd flow. Meadows' main base complex is large with plenty of seating, but other lodges are lacking, and the resort gets a 4 for facilities. With the exception of the lack of warning for the Private Reserve hikeout, getting around Mount Hood Meadows is pretty easy, and the resort gets a 7 for navigation. And finally, mountain aesthetic. Meadows is one of the most striking resorts out there when Mount Hood is showing, but this is rare during the core season. Still, the resort feels unique no matter when you go and gets a 7 in this category. These categories add up to an overall mountain score of 61, placing Meadows second in Oregon and tying it for 39th overall, although this number is bound to change as we add more resorts to the roster in the coming months. Meadows beats out nearby Timberline Lodge thanks to a larger footprint and tougher terrain, but it isn't nearly massive enough to outrank Mount Bachelor, which isn't quite as difficult as Meadows, but is much bigger with better lift service. The resort also ranks below every major Colorado, Utah, and Northern Rockies destination, and just barely beats out the best East Coast resorts. For more information on Mount Hood Meadows and more than 50 other North American ski resorts, check out peakrankings.com.